Will this night fulfill all the promises and bury us in peace? Will it leave us free?
Joining us now in America Tonight is Noordin Mengal. He is a spokesperson for WBO, and today they launched something very important with the Human Rights Awareness Campaign in New York City, or they did that the other day after a month of implementing the campaign in London. And we're talking about people that have been murdered or disappeared by Pakistani security forces. Noordin, thanks so much for coming on the show, and tell us what WBO is and what you've launched to raise this awareness for a place that I think many people don't know.
The World Baloch Organization is working to raise the issue of human rights abuses taking place in Balochistan. Human rights abuses being committed by the Pakistani authorities. So we're trying to raise awareness internationally because people back home, whoever does talk about this issue, whoever advocates for it, ends up being disappeared or killed, as you said. So what we're trying to do is tell the world about what's going on. Unfortunately, this region, even though it's been at the focal point of when it comes to foreign policy, U.S. foreign policy, but still, surprisingly, not a lot of people know about it. It's the size of Texas, Balochistan, but, no one knows about it.
Yeah, and tell us about it. So it was annexed by Pakistan in, what, the 40s?
In 1948. So in 1947, Pakistan and India, they both, after the British left, these two became independent countries. And the Baloch people, who are secular people, were given the option whether they wanted to join Pakistan, because Pakistan again was created on the basis of religion. They said that they didn't want to be a part of India because they wanted to have a separate Muslim state. So they became an independent state, and India was separate. So we were given the option of joining either or becoming independent. Now, the Baloch people decided to go for independence, and 9 months later, Pakistani troops invaded Balochistan, the capital, and took over. And since then, they've been carrying out military operations over the past 7 decades against the people.
Wow. And so obviously the idea is to get more people to understand where it is, what's happened, as you just described, the history. And what is it known for, right? It's known for oil, gas, mineral wealth, right?
Well, that's primarily the reason why Pakistan occupied this territory. It's 44% of Pakistan's landmass. So it's also the most richest in natural resources. It has the lowest population. So if we were an independent state, we would be quite well off because we don't have a huge population. But Pakistan's population is like the most populous province is 200 million. That's 110 million. So the total population of Pakistan is 200 million, and one province comprises 110 million, and we're only 10 million in comparison. So all our natural resources are still not enough for them. We've got oil, we've got the largest copper reserves in the world, and one of the largest gold reserves in the world, natural gas, and also a port, which China is seeking to gain access to the Indian Ocean. So they're constructing a port with the help of the Pakistani authorities.
Wow. We're speaking with Noordin Mengal. He is a political activist, human rights defender, and spokesperson for the World Baloch organization. And he's exiled, actually, speaking to us in London, to the UK, because what is the fear that you'd be killed, right, by the Pakistan government?
Oh, well, the Pakistani government does not want this issue to be spoken about, which is why no one knows about it. Unfortunately, unfortunately for the U.S., it seems to be that the U.S. Government doesn't, even though it might want to talk about this issue, might want to raise human rights abuses, but because it's such a sensitive issue for Pakistan, it's Achilles' heel. So it doesn't want to jeopardize its relationship maybe, by talking about this issue. In such a huge territory, there's not even a single U.S. consulate. And, there's no access for journalists, no access to international aid agencies or human rights organizations. And, so people who talk about this issue internationally, Pakistan tries to malign them, or those who are in Balochistan, they end up being killed. So Pakistan's put all its efforts in trying to stop this word spreading across the world. They don't want people to know, and I hope that this campaign, that after London and New York, that people will get to know more about it.
And one of the things that you did is advertise on taxi cabs, and because you wanted to get the word out, right?
Yeah. So it's a human rights campaign. Pakistan's and human rights organizations, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, they've reported on abuses being committed by the Pakistani army in Balochistan. So a lot of people don't know about this, and a lot of people don't even know. A lot of Pakistanis don't even know.
They don't even know about it, right? Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay, Noordin. As we continue the conversation, you're saying a lot of Pakistanis don't even understand about it, right?
They don't. There was this media, like BBC survey a few years ago, where people on the streets of Pakistan were asked about Balochistan and if they could name a few cities, and they couldn't, and they didn't even know the history of Balochistan. A lot of people in Pakistan, the majority doesn't even know that Pakistan had occupied Balochistan.
Yeah. And speaking of that, too, and so this really brings it home and people understand how serious this is in Balochistan. Have any of your relatives been killed or mistreated at all by the Pakistani military for raising their voices?
So my grandfather was the first chief minister of Balochistan. He was the first democratically elected chief minister in the 1970s. And his government was toppled by the Pakistani authorities 9 months after he was elected. He was imprisoned by the Pakistani authorities, again, because he demanded greater autonomy for the Baloch people. Now, my uncle, who was very young at the time, was a human rights campaigner, political activist, and he was abducted in the city of Karachi in Pakistan, and he's been missing ever since. This is 1976. 6th February 1976. He's been missing ever since. And very recently, in 2012, former Pakistani general, the head of the ISI, the intelligence service, Pakistani intelligence service, he's retired. Now he's passed away, but he was retired then. And he admitted on national television that my uncle had actually been abducted and killed during torture by the Pakistani authorities. It's been 40 years that, no one's heard of him, and we never got his body. So, this is just one example. Like, he was the son of a chief minister, so you can imagine the lives that common people face in their everyday lives. There are thousands of people who have gone missing, and every other day their body is dumped by the Pakistani authorities just to spread fear amongst the public. Like, when there's so many thousands of people missing, and there's a body dumped in a street, and they haven't identified it. So in the first few hours, when all these families that are affected, they're trying to find out who it is. They all think it's their loved one. So it's a way of spreading fear in society, because there are thousands of people that are affected. And this is something that's been going on for years. Wow. And Pakistan, on the other hand, is also using religion against the Baloch people. They're using Islam as a tool against the Baloch people. As they say, religion is the last resort of a coward. So they're using this to corrupt the society. And not only that, the Pakistani authorities have for years deceived the West. They're deceiving the US and other Western governments by making them believe that Pakistan is actually an ally. Well, they're not. They were sheltering the most wanted man in the world, and they have been supporting these elements in the region. And I've got to say this, that if there is no problem of extremism, fundamentalism in the region, Pakistan will no longer get the billions of dollars that it has been. For as long as there's a problem, Pakistan is going to keep getting these billions of dollars, and it doesn't want that problem to come to an end, you know?
Boy, and what a poignant thing to say. And as you mentioned, you have to say it. So I want that to sink in for people. It's the perfect place to end this very sad Baloch, what's happening there. Now it's on my radar, I can tell you that. Noordin Mengal, thank you so much for raising the awareness about this very serious, awful problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate.